Come on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Spenser Segal, founder and CEO of ActiFi. What did we speak about? We talk about ActiFi, how they turn strategy into advisor actions. I talked to Spenser about the AI note takers, how they've become ubiquitous and how they compare to ActiFi's coaching system. We talked about some new initiatives that ActiFi is launching, including their Advisor Excellence Index, which I think is really interesting. And we spoke about the human AI synergy framework that ActiFi has. And speaking of human AI synergy, one of the areas that we work with a lot of wealth management firms are these days is supporting that synergy with governance. And every wealth management firm needs to ask this question to themselves. Do you know every AI tool running inside your firm today? Who approved it? What data it's touching? What your liability is if it makes a bad recommendation? If you hesitated on any of those answers, you need to call us. Ezra Group's AI governance audit was built specifically for wealth management firms who are adopting AI fast but haven't caught up on the oversight side, which frankly is most of you. We come in, map your entire AI footprint, identify your regulatory exposure, and hand you a governance framework your compliance team will actually love. Firms that get ahead of this now won't be scrambling when the SEC starts asking questions, and believe me, they will. So you need to run, not walk to our website, ezragroup.com, and hit the big, beautiful purple Contact Us button on the homepage and schedule your free consultation today. And now, standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show, yada, yada, yada. Make sure to check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in the wealth management space, please go to our website and register your product on our Wealth Tech Integration Score vendor portal at ezragroup.com/register, so your product's score will always be up to date. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right, I'm excited to introduce our next guest. It is Spenser Segal, founder and CEO of ActiFi. Spenser, good to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Glad you can make it. I'm glad we could work out our schedules. You were just traveling. Where'd you just come back from?
From San Diego, a fun family trip with my wife.
Nice. That's great. I've been traveling a lot this year. I just took a break. Now, fortunately, no more conferences July and August till September. So get a little break in the travel schedule. But here we are to talk about ActiFi. And for anybody who's listening who was unaware, could you please give us a 30-second elevator pitch for ActiFi?
Well, the short version is we help wealth management firms, typically larger firms, turn strategy into advisor action. Our platform gives firms a structured way to drive advisor engagement, whether that is growth, retention, operational efficiency, in any area that falls into the on the business. And we're applying AI and, making that process much more streamlined. Because at the end of the day, what we've observed is that, firms are really good at telling advisors, hey, you know what we really need you to do is we need you to understand the client's goals. We need you to put a plan together for the client, and we need you to help execute that plan. But then the advisor turns to their relationship manager and says, okay, well, you're telling me to do this. What are you doing for me? And so we're kind of the ultimate tool to enable the firm to do the same thing for advisors that they're suggesting their advisors do for their clients.
That is excellent. I mean, you've been in the industry for over 30 years. You started as a CFP. You were on the founding team of Big Charts, which I used to use. I use that product. You ran e-commerce strategy at American Express Financial Advisors. So many people in your position would have just taken another job at a wirehouse or a broker-dealer. What gave you the impetus to start a company and build ActiFi?
Well, two points that really drove me. Number one is when I was working in corporate, I found that the people that had the skill and knowledge to really help advisors run much better practices didn't have the time, and the people that didn't that had the time didn't have the skill. And so I really wanted to be more advisor facing and really focus on the, kind of on the business tasks on one side of the equation. On the other side, this paradox of our industry, which is an industry that's treated you and I very well, has always bothered me, where the people who least need access to world-class integrated advice have the most access, i.e., everyone wants to work with the client with $50 million to manage. And the people who most need it have the least access, the John Q. Public with $100,000. And this whole paradox of how do we make it feasible to offer world-class integrated advice to a much larger population. That's motivated me throughout my 30 plus year career, but in particular, that was one of the things that drove me to found ActiFi.
That is a laudable goal. Democratization of advice
Yes,
is a term we hear a lot. And I think some firms talk about that, but they don't really walk the walk.
correct.
So I'm glad to see you did that. So as you described, you have the product name is Success Pro in
Correct.
ActiFi. As you mentioned, it focuses on enterprise advisor growth and coaching for wealth management. And you count some of the largest broker dealers among your clients. So what is it about Success Pro that convinced these enterprise firms to pay you guys to do this versus building it themselves?
It's a great question. A lot of times what our clients say is, they like working with us as much as they like working with our product. In other words, clients will create very high level requirements. We want it to be faster and more effective and create greater ROI. We can translate what are apparent nebulous requirements or very high level 50,000 foot requirements into an executable offering very quickly. So we've got our platform's a no code platform. We can configure it, but they pay us as much uh, for our expertise in understanding the common business problems. And then we tailor that expertise specific to what solutions they offer. So no two clients instances are configured the same, and no two clients offer the exact same set of solutions. So we really take the time to understand what what our clients are offering in terms of solutions and match sort of supply and demand. We have all these wonderful capabilities for advisors, but what do they actually want, and how do we make that process of matchmaking, meeting supply and demand, more efficient and effective? And we're quite good at that.
That's interesting. I never heard it referred to as supply and demand before. So do you find that to be common across all your firms, and does one outweigh the other sometimes?
Well, yeah, the demand side, we find a lot of times firms will overbuild in certain areas where the demand doesn't match the supply, versus when they ask their advisors, what are your goals? What are the strategies? What are the things that are the indications that specifically point to this particular solution? And we can be much more precise in the matchmaking exercise of translating advisor goals into executable capabilities that the firm offers to their advisors, whether that's efficiency or growth or retention, etc.
So you said translating advisor goals into, you say into strategies or into efficiencies?
Executable solutions.
Into expert solutions. How do you do that?
So we start with understanding the advisor's goal. So an advisor might say, hey, I want to grow. Okay,
Mhm.
well, what does it mean I want to grow? Do you mean that you want to acquire other practices? Does it mean you want to sell additional solutions to existing clients? Does it mean you want to acquire net new clients? Does it mean you want to do a fee rationalization project where you're, not undercharging clients for your advice?
Mhm.
It can mean a whole bunch of different things. So we really drill down to what does it mean, this
Mhm.
nebulous concept of growth.
Mhm.
And we will break it down into those subsets, and then we'll match each subset goal, like i.e. add net new clients, to specific capabilities that the firm
Mhm.
offers, whether excuse me, whether they're internal capabilities or capabilities that they've contracted with a partner to deliver.
Mhm. Interesting. So I want to talk a little bit about the platform in more detail, and specifically around integrations. So you have some integrations with Salesforce, and you have REST APIs available. And we
Yep.
and we know at his group we've done a lot of research on integrations, and it's one of the hardest things to build on a wealth tech platform. So where do you see a big integration gap in the market, and what's your approach to closing them?
Well, the challenge is that every firm, you know, has a bit different set of data, different set of capabilities in terms of integration. So we go from flat, hand keyed to flat feed to REST APIs to now we're working on an MCP server. So um, we can do whatever the client wants us to. And
Mhm.
so what we've learned through the School of Hard Knocks is you've got to meet clients where they're at.
Mhm.
And a lot of these decisions aren't driven by technical capabilities. They're driven by more business imperatives slash prioritization. A lot of times firms will prioritize one integration over the other. And if you're not prioritized in a given period of time, you need to make do with whatever solution there is, whether it's, flat files or CSVs, or we'll take it however we can get it kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And clients really appreciate it. It's not that we're not beating them up. It's just, hey,
Mhm.
whatever you can do at this point, and then they evolve. The good news is
Mhm.
that, we prove we can, and we earn their trust in a more manual integration that builds confidence to increase where we are in the queue for the, API integration.
Excellent. So I want to talk about AI note takers, and they've gone market share from zero to well over 50%, probably 60% market penetration at wealth management firms in just 2 years. So they've quickly expanded their capabilities beyond just meeting transcripts and have recently added advisor coaching features. Do you see these as a threat to Success Pros coaching, and how do you differentiate?
Yeah, well, clear AI note takers are clearly valuable, and the firms that are the industry specific firms are really trying to move up the value chain, and they are, and it's been a lot of good quick wins. I do see that a little bit as certainly as a threat, but it's I think much easier to go downstream
Mm.
in terms of building out all of these complex advisor engagement dashboards and so forth than the other way around. So we will, Success Pro is enabled to where you can literally drag and drop a transcript or a meeting summary, and it'll populate all of the goals and all of the business plan updates and all that sort of thing for you. So we've tried to reduce friction as much as we can, and we really perceive them more as a partner than a threat. But certainly there might be instances where they do overlap with us.
So you said it's easier to go downstream in terms of building out complex advisor engagement dashboards and so forth. Which way do you see as downstream?
Starting with the business goals, and really how do you decompose the goals into specific strategies, map the individual strategies to specific capabilities, whether they're firm built or
Mhm.
partner built. Like there's a lot of art and the next best action and all of that sort of thing. I mean, we've got a corpus of 23 years of experience doing that. It's easy to do technically. It's not easy to do logically and
Mhm.
really understand, well, if they say this, what's the next right question to ask to drill down? And how does that map to the solutions? And of the solutions, there's nuances in the sense that certain solutions that these large enterprises make money on, they've got quite a bit of appetite
Mhm.
to invest in and spend money to deliver those. Other things that are more conveniences for the advisor, they want on a self-service basis. So understanding like those nuances and managing the different parts of the organization, we're highly skilled in doing that. There might be a group that's specifically aligned to the firm's proprietary managed account solution.
Mhm.
We will understand that alignment and try to tightly integrate within the capabilities that the firm offers. Whereas somebody who's new to the game isn't going to have that nuanced understanding of how to do it.
Speaking of AI, congratulations on your first book, The AI
Thank you.
Enabled Future of Wealth Management, which I believe, my personal opinion, it's going to be regarded as a seminal work in the field of AI. And not only because you interviewed me for it, but because it's really a good book. So you built a framework in it called the Human AI Synergy. So can you tell us, give us a 60-second version or 2-minute version? What does that mean? What's the human AI synergy and how does it work in practice for wealth management firms?
Oh, that's there's a lot there to unpack, but if I were to simplify it, it's not human versus AI, it's human through AI.
Mhm.
So the advisor is able to do more high human value added activities, whereas they're delegating the more rote, less high human value added activities to the AI. And so it's really a pyramid structure. So you start with firm specific intellectual capital. Then you move into things like data lakes and knowledge management systems, then into these agentic architectures, agentic mesh, that sort of thing. And then where the human really adds the value add is at the tacit knowledge level and at the wisdom with purpose level,
Mhm.
the empathy, the strategic judgment. So more and more the AIs are going to do the kind of bottom half of the pyramid and free up humans to spend more time at the top half of the kind of human led part of the pyramid.
Yeah, I like that. The human through AI rather than
Yes.
human AI led leading humans.
Right.
Um, so you've said agentic AI is one of the biggest shifts you've ever seen, bigger than the internet, bigger than SaaS. So what specifically is happening right now at the advisor level that I was going to say what backs that up. I know what backs it up, but what can advisors do? What would you recommend?
Well, I think it's specific to the firms. I think the biggest issue is trust and governance. Again, the technical capabilities are certainly there. The trust and governance may or may not be there, and in many cases, it's not. So, I would encourage firms to approach this very strategically and really understand both the benefits and the risks that they're taking on. I mean, certain things that are very low risk, like, a summary of a conversation, those are easy to implement. Things that are more complex, which in terms of offering investment advice, I think the human should always be in the loop. So it's a lot to do with how much governance and trust is there. So many times we're seeing firms take baby steps with Google calls them Google Gems, GPTs, Claude calls them projects. That's sort of the first level. That's not truly agentifying, but it's kind of getting ready to agentify.
I certainly appreciate when you're pitching, talking about trust and governance, because we do a lot of that here at Ezra Group. We're getting a lot of calls. We've always done tech governance for firms' tech stacks, but now with AI, people are kind of freaking out. We're getting a lot of inbound calls for us to come out and do AI governance. So
Mhm.
that's certainly an issue. Do you see any area where that you guys with ActiFi, do you support their governance practices at all?
Yeah, one of the things we do is a bit of a strategy workshop, and a lot of it has to do with what is governable, what could be governable but isn't, and what isn't governable, and trying to understand the risk return. There, again, I go back to the theme and the thesis of the book, human AI synergy at the speed and strength of trust. That's sort of the punchline, and the capabilities are, like a hockey stick going straight up, but you know, trust trust is linear.
Hmm. True. Is trust scalable?
It can be. It
Mhm.
can be if it's properly governed. And
Yes.
again, I don't, I think firms are not spending enough time on fully understanding, especially the business people. Like, what are the trade-offs? Where is the risk return? And how can I do this safely and securely in an environment where I can be confident the AI is going to perform as expected. I
Mhm.
have fail safes. I have the governance around that
Mhm.
versus going fast and slipping up. I do predict that there will be some,
Mhm.
a significant slip up, if you will, or mistake or breach or whatever
Mhm.
over the, coming year
Yep.
as firms race into this. In some cases, very well educated in a very
Right.
prudent and thoughtful manner, and in other cases, more, hey, this is cool, let's do it,
Mhm.
and we'll run into some problems.
So what I'm seeing, we get tons and tons of new vendors. As you know, Michael Keatsis and I partner on the Keatsis Ezra Group Advisor Tech Map, which is available at keatsis.com. And we get 6 to 8 to 10 new products every month for the past, we've been doing it for over 7 years together. And what we're seeing, we see the waves of change. And now there's a lot of AI washing, as I would call it, in wealth tech right now. Every vendor's slapping AI powered this and AI native that, or advisor AI on their features that are really just automations or rules based logic. So, how much of what's being marketed to wealth management firms as AI is really AI? And where should executives be most skeptical?
Well, there is a lot of AI washing, and some of it's harmless marketing inflation, but some of it is dangerous because executives may think they have an AI strategy where they really have a feature label.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would recommend to firms is asking five simple questions. What data does it use? What decision does it improve? What workflow does it change? How is it supervised? And what outcome does it measure? And if you can't answer those five questions, you should go back to the drawing board until you can.
Yes, that's some good advice. So ActiFi, as you explained, has over 100 wealth management clients. What's the biggest operational mistake you see firms making when it comes to their tech stack?
I think being enamored with a particular capability without understanding the workflow and economic implications of that capability, of how does that capability fit within foundational workflows like prep for client meeting or
Mm,
onboard new client. Because at the end of the day, the firm is paying for the end-to-end process,
mm,
and they're paying in terms of salaries for employees, whether it's consultants, the technology itself. How do you make sure that that is really producing a positive outcome both for the client, the advisor, and ultimately the firm?
There you go. So, one of the things we focus on at Ezra Group is how rarely firms measure their tech ROI. They buy software, they don't track whether advisors are using them or whether it moves the needle on AUM or growth of revenue, client satisfaction or retention. They just buy it and think they're done. So, do you think the industry's gotten any better at that, or are firms still just flying blind when it comes to buying new software?
It's a mixed bag. I do think that there's an emergence of, larger, more sophisticated, professionally managed firms that are taking a very thoughtful approach. But it's hard if you've got, three hats to wear. You're an advisor hat, your COO hat, your CCO hat, and you got to switch between them. It You don't necessarily have the time to do time motion studies and that sort of thing, or prioritize in a really thoughtful manner. So I think that firms are in some cases, and more often than not, um, getting better at activity
Mm,
measurements, but not measuring business impact. So, what are the leading indicators? How do they correlate with the lagging indicators? And there isn't a perfect correlation. It might be a multivariate equation, and you can't quantify precisely, what percentage of this net flow number was caused by this process that we put in place on the client preparation, you know, client prep meeting, the agenda item related to referrals, or something like that. Like, how do you, it's not a one-to-one correlation. And I
mm,
think firms get hung up on that. And it's even though you can't precisely do it in many instances, like this particular activity yields this precise output, you do need to build up your mental models and observe the data and understand what the correlation is of the leading indicator to the lagging indicator. Because at the end of the day, the one thing that firms typically control is their own behaviors. What they don't control is the outcomes from those behaviors. And they just need to make the best judgment as to increasing this particular behavior will increase this particular outcome measurement, the lagging indicator.
So you said the firms don't necessarily have the time to do the time motion studies and that sort of thing to prioritize their how well their advisors are operating. And as a group, we have actually launched our own separate business where we're doing a lot of advisor adoption training and communications, helping firms do that because they've got that issue. They don't have the time or the capabilities to understand how to improve how their advisors are using their systems and software. But you've worked with a lot of different firms over the years and executive sales managers, internal advisor coaches. So, where are you seeing technology adoption break down? Is it more of a people problem, a process problem, or generally technology problem?
Well, it's all of the above. The one variable I would say correlates highest with adoption and usage is readiness. So I define readiness as level of motivation, level of skill in using the tool, and level of capacity, time to adopt, right? So when the employee or the advisor is extremely motivated, they're well trained, and they have plenty of capacity, guess what? Adoption is close to 100%. When they have low motivation, low skill, and low capacity, it's closer to 0%. And so that is the variable that most correlates. And so what we tend to do is assess readiness. And every firm and every office, every advisor has a slightly different level of readiness when it comes to a particular process
Mm.
improvement slash technology implementation, because a lot of times the technology implementation comes hand in glove with the process improvement.
Indeed, it does. We've always seen that. And we're just about out of time. But I want to squeak in one more question for you. As an author of an AI book on AI in the industry, where do you see it going? What's if you make some predictions in the next 18 to 24 months, if you can even look out that far, what do you see as big changes coming down the pike for us?
Well, the biggest one is the law of accelerating returns. And if you haven't heard of it, look it up. Ray Kurzweil popularized it. It's Moore's law is an example of the law of accelerating returns, sort of a subset. But I think we're at the uh, point where we're getting to recursive self-improvement. 2025 was the last year that these foundational models were majority built by humans. Every subsequent model starting in 26, most of the AI engineering, the majority of the AI engineering was done by AI engineers, and that percentage will continue to increase up until the point we get to recursive self-improvement, RSI. And I don't think people can wrap their brains out around that sort of exponential change. So that's kind of at the very highest level.
Mm.
More specifically, as we think about it, the agentic part is going to be huge. I think there's going to be a lot more sort of reviewing of processes and work to be done and workflows in the next year that can be offloaded sort of in an elevate and delegate fashion.
Mhm.
You will be able to delegate to your digital counterpart, which you will be able to, you'll be supervising. So I do think they'll quickly, a lot of employees, certainly operational employees, but in some cases advisors, will be managing digital employees, if you will. So those are the two big predictions that I have.
Before we go, I just want to squeeze in, keep squeezing things in here. You mentioned recursive self improvement. Just explain really quick what that is for people who may not know and why it's so important.
Yeah, so recursive self-improvement is where the machine is improving itself by itself. So hiring high-end human AI engineers, it's a very small pool, and each one of them is really expensive. But if you can spin up 10,000 uh, AI engineers, it becomes just constrained by power and compute, and the ability to have a hard takeoff is there. Now it does scare me a bit, and I don't know that we're, from a societal standpoint, really prepared for all of the implications of that. So I do. I'm an advocate of maybe slowing down a little bit,
Mm.
because once that point hits, um, the world's going to be very different, and hopefully different in very good ways, but likely some very bad ways as well.
You heard it here first, folks. So get ready. Where can people find out more information about ActiFi?
Our website, www.actifi.com, ACTIFI, or my author website is spensersegal.com, Spenser with an S, SPENSERSEGAL.com. In either case, in on the spensersegal.com, we actually have an AI readiness assessment for free. So
Mm.
I think firms would get a lot of value from that, as an example.
That's excellent. Fantastic. Well, Spenser, it was great to see you. I'm glad we finally got together on this.
Awesome.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's Greg again. Here are my top three takeaways from this episode. Number one, ActiFi's core value prop, as described by Spenser, is their Success Pro product that helps wealth management firms turn strategy into advisor actions using a structured, configurable platform to drive advisor growth, retention, and operational efficiency. Number two, human plus AI, not AI replacing humans. Spenser emphasized a human through AI model, where AI handles more rote tasks and humans focus on higher value, judgment, empathy, and strategic work. He also stressed that trust and governance are the real bottlenecks, not the tech itself. And 3, firms are still struggling with adoption and ROI. Spenser said many of the firms he works with are improving at measuring activity, but not the business impact. He highlighted readiness, workflow fit, and clear governance as key drivers of successful tech adoption and warned that there's a lot of AI washing in wealth tech. And that's it. You reached the end of another episode of Wealth Tech Today podcast. Thanks for listening. But before you go, please drop by our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.